So Far Cry 5's been out for about a week now, and it's done really well, guys.
Yeah, it's done really well. I think there's one main reason for that. It's a fucking good game, Mike, isn't it?
It is a decent game. Yeah, it's a decent game. It's currently got an 81 on Metacritic on PS4, based on 69 critics. It's out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. It came out on March 27th. It's just kind of 81 is there or thereabouts for the series. It's better than some of the series entries, and it's kind of not as good as like Far Cry 3, which I think is the top. Chart Track reports via Eurogamer that Far Cry 5 has actually topped the UK charts. That's probably no surprise, but it is actually the biggest launch for the series in the UK, which is good. I mean, there are some big games there. Far Cry 3 and 4 were big titles, and they launched in November rather than the March slot, and November is obviously more popular because it's like the run up to Christmas, and you know, a lot of companies like try and rush to get those good launch slots, you know, AAA companies anyway. So it's done really well comparatively to the rest of the series as well, and it's outsold its opening week. It's outsold both AC Origins and Ghost Recon Wildlands. So they're two big Ubisoft releases that apparently themselves sold really well. So it's done well, like sales-wise it's done well, and Metacritic-wise it's done pretty well.
You got to consider a few of the factors, right? It's a first-person shooter, which is generally a bigger genre than third-person, assassin simulator and Ghost Recon Wildlands, which is a third-person shooter in itself.
Yeah.
So that's one of the factors. The other thing is these are physical only in the UK, right? And this is, I mean, it doesn't say much compared with Assassin's Creed Origins and Ghost Recon Wildlands, but versus all the other games in the series, maybe because we are reaching a point where a lot of people have got consoles now. A lot of people have got, towards the end of the life cycle of a console generation, I guess. So many people have got more consoles, so more people buying games. That's another factor to consider. It's generally a really good game. People are really warm towards it. But the question mark over it is the Ubisoft factor, right? It's like, how much can you enjoy a Ubisoft game without starting to criticise it just because it's Ubisoft?
So I guess you're talking about the Jimquisition video there, with Jim Sterling off of YouTube did a Jimquisition video on this game this week. His argument in that is that the Far Cry 5 doesn't kind of stand out as much because of how many, not only Far Cry games there are, but Ubisoft games generally, and then they have a lot of design elements that pass over, like the way the map works with segmented zones, and the mission structure of a lot of the games, like taking down outposts and taking down convoys of roaming vehicles and whatever that needs to be taken down. Climbing towers obviously is gone, but there's still a lot of crossover in terms of how these games are designed. So he says for that reason, it's an interesting argument, I guess. It's for that reason it doesn't feel as special, and it's not considered a great open world instant classic because of how many Ubisoft open world games there are. And he basically describes it as kind of more Ubisoft open world fluff, I think is the word he uses. So it's not really a worthwhile game, but it is enjoyable while you're doing it. There's something very addictive about it, and it's a great experience while you're doing it, but it's instantly forgettable, is kind of what he's saying. So first of all, what do you reckon to his assessment of that?
I don't know, it's fair and it's not at the same time. He likened it to junk food, which I found quite amusing. Yeah. I don't know if that's completely fair, because you feel disgusting, you feel dirty, you feel like you've done yourself a disservice after junk food. Whereas I had a jolly good time playing Far Cry 5. I'll say that, there was no regret whatsoever, no remorse.
Yeah. I think they were shooting for a jolly good time. Actually, that's
jolly good time.
That's what they wanted.
Yeah, it is what it is at this point. There's so many things that you expect from a Far Cry game. If you like the outposts, if you like the getting ambushed on the road every 2 seconds, if you like the crazy wildlife that will just jump on you.
Them turkeys, man.
Them killer turkeys.
I think it's like the wolverines.
Yeah,
they're
really
pretty tough.
Oh, fucking hell. They're small as well. They're small and fast as fuck.
You don't know what's happening when they're attacking you, really.
It's crazy. But I don't think it's entirely fair, right? Because what he's doing there is I believe it's like, can you judge this one game just because there are other games that are similar to it? Just because there's a lot of other games, there's loads of other games that have very similar elements to this game, Far Cry 5. Now, does that affect this game in any way. Does that mean that this Far Cry 5 is less of a game because there's so many other games out there that are similar?
Well, I mean, I definitely get where he's coming from in that I'm the first to express how, I'm the first to turn my nose at something if I think there's too much of it and like there's too much Assassin's Creed. And I definitely agree that there is obviously a clear pattern in Ubisoft open world games where it's got the same features, same structure, same campaign structure, same kind of, in Far Cry games it's always one big charismatic villain to put on the cover and things like that. It's always kind of the same. However, I think the biggest kind of counter to what Jim Sterling says is the fact that it's the idea that would we have got to Far Cry 5 if it wasn't for the fact that they'd been working on these open world games for so many years. And it's Far Cry 5 is a product of Ubisoft's business model. Like, we've only got to this point because they've made loads of Far Cry games and loads of Assassin's Creed games and Ghost Recon Wildlands and The Division and all this. This has kind of led us to this. Would we have got Far Cry 5 if Ubisoft wasn't pumping out open world AAA sandbox games, twice or three times a year? Like, I don't know, maybe not. So
I think, you're right. They are perfecting the formula, and it's through trial and error and through learning. Is that they learn? Oh, nobody likes the towers anymore. They're getting a lot of feedback about that. Let's change it up. The UI is too cluttered. Let's change it up. Let's iterate on this and let's change the things as we go. They're doing it everywhere. They're learning a lot, obviously.
Yeah, I think the last two games have shown that it's actually been a bit of a revolution. Not just iterating. They've actually gone back to the drawing board and they've gone like, oh man, we need to change the way the UI is. We need to change the way the open world works. Like the map, getting rid of the towers is just the start of it. There's a lot going. The way the game plays is completely different because of that one fact. The way that you get missions and the way that you don't feel like you've got a massive checklist of stuff that needs doing. It doesn't feel like that, and that's a big change for the series. And I don't think the game's gotten enough credit for pushing things in a new and fresh direction. It's learned a lot more from Breath of the Wild, which is something we've both said. Because you came in the office and said that this morning, and I was like, oh my god, that's exactly what I was saying over the weekend. It's just completely a fresh look at it, and they've learned more from Breath of the Wild rather than
it's the way that you discover missions, right? Whereas normally you'd go up to somebody, you'd tell you, right, you do this. Whereas in Far Cry 5, you can walk up to a random NPC and he'll tell you, oh, there's a guy down in this cabin. I haven't seen him for a while. Go check on him for us. So you go and see him, and then he gives you some sort of mission. It feels natural. It's like the progression of having a conversation with an NPC and then going on your own adventure to find something that needs doing, rather than just giving a checklist, giving a job to do list or whatever, where you're just ticking boxes and doing busy work. It feels natural, and that's what they got from Breath of the Wild, right? Breath of the Wild, you could go anywhere and find your own adventure, and you'd have fun whichever direction you travelled in, and this is what it feels like. And I think it strikes a balance, this game, between feeling comfortable and familiar, and being fresh at the same time. I think they've done really well. It's a good feeling from it, because you know kind of what you're supposed to do, kind of good feeling, but somehow it feels fresh. And the combat, the gameplay, the response you get from when you're taking somebody down with a weapon, that in itself is really good. I can't think of any other first-person game that is so satisfying to kill an enemy. And now you always use Destiny 2 as like, it's so good to give the headshots in Destiny 2. How would you compare it with Destiny 2?
It's up there, and it's got this. It feels fun and exciting to do it, and it feels the idea of going towards an outpost and how the series has always been, how do you plan your attack? You scope out the place and you either sneak in, or you go in guns blazing, or you free one of the wild animals that they've got caged up, or whatever. You've got your own strategy. So this is kind of that, but it just. Even just running in there and shooting like a headless chicken, that's fun. That just feels like a viable, fun thing. And I've done that a couple of times because I feel like I just can't be bothered sneaking around, which is I've always gone for the sneaking approach. So there's definitely something to it. And I think the customization and stuff of the weapons is great, and the customization of giving you a character to customize. And although it's very limited, it's still there, and so is the vehicles and stuff. You can buy and upgrade vehicles and customize them. I think that they've just given you options without overwhelming you, which is one of the game's big kind of successes. But the main thing is that they've just taken things away for me. That's the real kind of genius of the game, is they've taken away the UI is absolutely brilliant because it's invisible and it's always there when you need it, but it just kind of fades out all the time, and it's really small and unintrusive. The map is just, before it would have been filled with icons. We've all seen like the Assassin's Creed Unity map of Paris where you can't see Paris because of all the icons. It's the complete opposite to that. All the design philosophy has been like taking things out and making things, and I don't mean like shooting them, I mean like removing things from the game and only putting them in there when absolutely necessary. I think what you were saying about walking up to people and them giving you, telling you that there's a prepper stash, over, on the top of the hill, so you want to go in there, and that's like a mini, like vault from Fallout or something. You want to go in there and see what's going on. Some of them are a little bit repetitive, but there's a reward in there. There's a puzzle. I've been surprised by the side missions a couple of times. There's one where you have to snipe a lock from the other side of it.
I did that this morning.
Really creative. I've never done anything like that in Far Cry. You've got to herd cows at one point. With by throwing rocks at them. It's just they've had fun with it, and that helps a lot.
It is very good, and that is one of the aspects that I found most enjoyable. Is like it feels fresh in a way that like you're doing things that you've never done before, and there's like they're all different as well. Like you say that you found the stashes or whatever. I don't think there was one repetitive type of mission like that. I don't feel like I'm doing the same thing over.
Some of them are flooded and stuff, and it's the way you get into it is a problem. Sometimes you can get into it.
It's like a little mini puzzle, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you can actually get inside quite easily, but then the thing starts blowing up and collapsing when you're inside it and stuff. And so there is variety there. And just to go back to what Jim Sterling's saying, that the structure is still clear, and it's definitely right. There are still outposts, there are still convoys, and those things are exactly the same mechanically as they are in something like Ghost Recon Wildlands, except with a different name and a slightly different coat of paint. That's unquestioned. But I think what is good in this is the way that those things are presented to you. It doesn't feel like a chore, and that's the main thing. It doesn't feel like work. For me at any point anyway.
Yeah, a couple of other things that really stand out for me in the game are the characters, right? I think it's Sharky and Herc are two of the funniest characters in it. It's just so funny. You got to jump in a car with Herc at one point, and he's just chatting to you about his life and about what's going on, and he's just funny. It's just so fun. It's just fun. Just it's like Red Dead Redemption thing, and I remember like you used to follow the
and they give you
and they talk to you as you're doing it, and it's like it's nice. It's a nice like giving proper depth to the character because he's telling you about you. I like those little touches. Really,
there's a lot of detail here for sure, and I think another to touch on the kind of side missions and talking to NPCs again. That's kind of picked up a little bit from The Witcher, where not only do they say, oh, there's that thing over there, just the very slightest kind of, rather than just going, oh, there's a job over there that needs doing, please help me, they'll say, hey, I heard that the Jones family are having some real trouble. I don't know what happened, I just heard some gunshots, but they're in trouble. And they just give you just enough, like a seed of something to go on, to care about it, and then you go there, and sometimes, a few times, genuinely, I've gone, oh shit, and then I've like rushed over there because I want to help them out. And I know it's just like role-playing, basically. I know that they'll just stay there until, if I completed the game, the scenario wouldn't start playing out till I got there, but I still rushed over to see that. And when you get there, there's great environmental storytelling, there's like bodies and blood, and there's things going on
before you got there.
Exactly, so you can see evidence of stuff. So overall, it's a strong entry, and probably so far one of my favourite of the series. I can say that quite comfortably, if not the just yet, but I'll wait till I finish it all the way through first. But where are you at with it?
I really enjoyed this game, which was surprising. I didn't have much expectation going into it. I just really enjoy a lot of the aspects. It's not without its criticisms. It does have the old season pass thing, although on the season pass note, you've got it doesn't feel like they've chopped off some of the game and they're selling it back to you separately. They've got separate areas. You've got Mars, you've got Vietnam, and you've got zombies. It feels like it feels like a wholesome product in itself that is maybe worth your money. And also you get Far Cry 3 in there too. Which is a part of it. So it's got microtransactions. It's not a perfect game by all means. Microtransactions can just curl up and die, please, if you would, for me. But it doesn't impose itself too much. It's a really enjoyable game. bottom line is I'm having a lot of fun. So
there you go, and that's right. Yeah, it may be one of many Ubisoft open world games. It is the 5th mainline Far Cry game, and there are many. That's not even including things like Far Cry Primal. So if you do get tired of things, I mean, I guess maybe wait for a sale or something before checking it out. But it's pretty strong impressions from the both of us anyway. So that's Far Cry 5. It's out now on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. It's the best-selling Far Cry game in the UK on its launch. That's what we think of it. What do you think if you've been playing it? Let us know down in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Weapons up! Bombs away! All right!
This is what the Father prepared us for. Mark the homes of the sinners. Save the souls that are worth